Let's be honest for a second, when we all first saw those leaks of the original Sonic trailer, with the general consensus on the design being that whoever created it deserved a special place in hell, I bet no one really thought we'd be here today. With 2 movies, a third on the way, and a few admittedly shaky game entries that we're going to cover at a later point in the channel, Sonic is well and truly back in the spotlight, and to be honest, it's really well earned. Now, I've talked briefly on the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie before in this channel, and I labelled it as one of my favourite video game movies. 2 years on and that statement still holds up. I probably actually would develop that further and say I love it more than I did then. One of the few movies that I think surpasses that is this year's sequel to that film. But let's not sit around and hint at it. Hello viewers, welcome back to Media 13, my name is Jordan, and if you have not guessed by the thumbnail and the title, I'm not alone today. In fact, I'm joined by a face that some of you watching this might already recognise.
What's up guys, it's Indyoda here, and it is an honour to be featured on Media 13. Shout out to Jordan for being an amazing host who has asked me to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
So without further ado, let's get into things in 3, 2, 1... I do genuinely find it insane how far we've come since those early leaks. It feels as if we've entered some sort of alternate timeline where that original render of Sonic just never happened. Although I will make it clear right now, and I apologise for going on a little bit of a rant, I do not think that the design warranted the amount of hate that the VFX company got for it. I'm fairly certain that the company, or one of the sub-companies that worked on that, ended up going bankrupt from the amount of money they had to pump in to fix it. And sure, you can say it's their fault for creating something like that in the first place, but looking back on this movie knowing that it was good and the design wasn't something that was ever really going to change that, it instantly becomes a bit of a tragedy for those involved when you realise that this literally just comes down to people losing their jobs because fans on the internet were not happy. Mind you, a lot of these people that were saying this are now probably the same people saying that VFX artists at Marvel deserve more credit and more time to work on things. I think what really works with these movies as video game adaptations is that through many of the scenes they're allowed to be stylized as video games. This is a lot more prevalent in the sequel, but it is not completely gone in the first movie. They feel like video games while being something new. Now these movies have a fish out of water type aspect to them, but it blends Sonic's world with ours almost seamlessly. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this movie made me care so much about a blue hedgehog, even more so than I do with a lot of other main characters in movies. It's done in such an interesting way, because for so often in my life, this character has just been run super fast, stop the bad guy every once in a while, save the day. These movies do that, but they add this extra layer to the character. They follow the structure to a degree, but it's a lot more condensed, and as a result, everything feels closer. Which again, when you take everything into account, sounds kinda weird.
Now Sonic 1 and 2, when you put both of these films on paper, they really shouldn't work, and yet somehow they do. Like if someone told me to watch a film about a blue anthropomorphic hedgehog who can run really fast, being tracked down by Jim Carrey's villain, and it's based on a video game. Yeah, that doesn't really grab me. But these films are actually really good.
The first movie opens with us seeing Sonic's childhood in what is a gorgeously constructed Green Hill Zone brought to life for this movie. This flashback does end in sadness, however, as we're shown how Sonic eventually ends up on Earth as we watch Longclaw, who fits that space in his life as a mother figure, sacrificing herself so that he can escape. He spends a lot of time as an outlaw before finding refuge on Earth, where he spends the majority of his life. Eventually there creates a layer of sympathy for Sonic. We've seen a tragic event from his childhood that, despite his best intentions, he indirectly was the cause of. Throughout his time on Earth, we see that Sonic is very much alone, lacking any form of relationship, and yet at the same time, he yearns for one. We can see that he's lonely. I think what this first film does super well is establish this, as well as establish the eventual bandage that would heal that in the form of Tom, played by Chris Marsden. I genuinely think this first movie is special. You know, it's corny, and occasionally the jokes don't land. But on most accounts, despite this being a kids' movie, I think that the message it carries holds infinitely more weight than, well, this.
Specifically in the first one, I really love the relationship between Tom and Sonic. Both James Marsden and Ben Schwartz really sell that relationship, and that's what held me through the whole first movie. And because of that, I think it really worked. Unfortunately, the second one doesn't have this relationship as much. What it does have, however, is the inclusion of Tails and Idris Elba's Knuckles.
After the wide array of video game adaptations that would be marked as a failure by the general audience, this movie was put against the firing wall almost immediately. The team behind this movie not only had to create a film that could justify its existence, but they also had to do it while giving the story a kick that would make it all feel worth it. Something that would leave everyone feeling that intended connection to the blue blur. Personally, I think it succeeds with flying colours. You know, it's not without its issues, but I don't really think any of them are detrimental to the film. At worst, they're little blips that are over before they've had a chance to really get on your nerves. And you know what, I just realised I haven't even talked about one of the best parts of this first movie yet. Jim Carrey absolutely crushes it consistently as Robotnik across this movie. He's this egotistical douchebag with no chance of redemption, and I love that. While not looking very faithful in terms of looks, I feel like Jim perfectly encapsulates that psychotic nature needed to really showcase this character to its limit.
I really love this character, and I can't tell you exactly why. I think half the joy of these movies is seeing Jim Carrey in a role that, one, he's having a lot of fun in, and two, he's playing it really well. And we can get that as an audience. We see his joy in playing that role, and we're sold on his character. So I think he's really entertaining to watch.
And now we are here, the sequel to that film that looked doomed from the first time we saw that opening trailer. And to be honest, I love it. I unfortunately missed out on seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the big screen due to that little illness that was going around at the time, but thankfully I managed to catch the sequel, and I am so glad that I did, because Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is without a doubt the most fun I've had at a cinema so far this year, while not even being the favourite that I've seen. Don't get me wrong though, that's not a bad thing. This movie is truly great, and there's honestly so much to love. There's never a dull moment. I really love that the themes are expanded upon within the second movie. We see that Sonic has grown into life on Earth, living with Tom and his wife, but that theme of belonging still continues to play a part in the plot, while utilising the new incoming characters to do so. While Sonic still plays the role of the fish out of water, it's clear that he's developed in the time between these movies. There's this really fun scene with Sonic stopping a robbery, and this whole thing stems from Sonic believing that he is the equivalent of a superhero in this world, and that because he has powers, he has to use them to help people to justify himself. On top of this, you have scenes like the fishing scene, which I actually love and I don't see a whole lot of people talking about on Twitter or anywhere where there's normally film discourse. This scene has Sonic and Tom bonding and establishing them with this father-son dynamic that actually does feel super well done and fits what the first movie had begun to establish. It takes that dynamic just that much further in a natural direction that feels more like it was where it was headed rather than the way they pushed it to make that fit.
The filmmakers aren't trying to create something new and innovative to blow your socks off, they're just trying to make films that are entertaining. And these movies are really entertaining. There's some genuinely funny jokes, some cool battles with, dare I say it, better CGI than some Marvel movies, and some lovable main characters who grew on me more than I expected them to.
But the family side of things isn't the only way this film chooses to explore Sonic's sense of belonging. This time around choosing to also address the lack of friends in Sonic's life, or rather friends of his own kind. This takes place as Sonic's internal struggle this time around. And this time it is perfectly remedied by the inclusion of Tails and Knuckles. They both have their own arcs that are really well done and run parallel alongside Sonic's as well as interconnecting with that one. Which is actually great considering it also still keeps Sonic's growth consistent from the first movie.
These two new additions are fantastic. They have their own unique quirks and just solid acting and dialogue from both of them. I think they're really cool characters.
I love the growth in Sonic's character too. I truly believe that at the beginning of this movie, Sonic really would have seen Knuckles as a threat, given that the Echidna Warriors were the Longclaw's killers. But the growth and personal journey that Sonic goes through brings him to the point of acceptance and clarity, and I love that this movie ends with the two putting aside their differences and becoming friends. But this wouldn't work without great writing, and that's just a further testament to how much the people behind this movie actually cared about crafting something special. Instead of being a cash-grabbing sequel, it fully commits to trying to be something new, while continuing what the first film began, and I truly appreciate that. I do love that it's unanimously agreed, aside from an unhappy few, that Sonic 2 is a great movie. It builds on the first movie in pretty much every way imaginable, and it's infinitely more absurd and confident with its tone, and I like that. I like that it doubles down in that angle, and again, it's not without its flaws. I do think that in a number of instances, the human characters in this movie especially feel very unbalanced and struggle to blend that line between sincerity and comedy at times. Don't get me wrong, for movies like this I almost excuse that, because it's not trying to be this gripping character piece, it's just trying to be some fun.
Both films are incredibly cheesy, a bit cliche in terms of plot structure, but I think that's why it works. I know that sounds like a negative, but hear me out. These films have some good acting, it nails the 3-act structure, and most of all, it's got heart.
Now, in terms of those sometimes shaky comedy segments, the first film definitely feels more in your face with that. But I think I'm going to say that comes down to the second one embracing that video game angle a lot more. It lets itself loose, and that shows even more with Eggman and its CGI characters, i.e. the characters brought straight from the video game. Speaking of Jim Carrey, he continues to absolutely serve in this role. I mean it when I say that he is amazing. It feels as if this is as close as we're going to get to the classic Jim Carrey performances with roles like Ace Ventura or Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask. It's completely insane and cranked up to the max, and what makes it even better is that it fits the tone of these movies to a T. Do I think that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and its first movie would be lacking something if Jim Carrey was to be replaced? Yes, I do, 100%. I see Jim Carrey as an integral part to the pool that the first film had. The pool was also present in the sequel, although by this point most people had bought into these movies and what they were. While I don't really talk about it that often, Sonic the Hedgehog was a huge part of my childhood. I mean, he's still even prevalent now. I mean, I don't keep these guys in the background of the videos for no reason. I didn't play every single game known to man, but what I did do was play games like Sonic Heroes religiously. So for me to be sat down in a cinema at the age of 21 seeing this iconic imagery, this awesome shot of Sonic, Tails and Knuckles on screen headed to kick some ass, was everything that the child me wanted. This right here was such a prolonged part of my gaming experiences as a child, and it is everything to see that brought to life, and it's something that 8-year-old me probably dreamed of. Even seeing Supersonic on screen was insane. I mean, sure, it was a little predictable, but it wasn't any less impressive. I really don't think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 fumbles in any area that they brought from the games. Across both films, Ben Schwartz has crafted a Sonic that I have come to love and adore, and it might just be my definitive or favourite Sonic voice. This is the one that I hear in my head when I envision Sonic now. On top of that, I think Colleen continues to be fantastic as Tails. Obviously the voice actress from the games was brought over to do that for the movie, which, you know, I think is good because that is almost like a pitch perfect voice. And then you have Idris Elba as Knuckles too, and these two not only round off a great trio, they also complete a solid movie.
Overall, these two films are way better than I was expecting. They have a solid story, phenomenal characters, and I'm really excited to see the third one. Once again, thank you to Jordan for having me on the channel. My name has been Caleb, and you can find me at Indyoda or Indyoda13 on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. I hope you all have enjoyed my review. Back to you, Jordan.
I just love the fact that I can look at the adaptation of a video game franchise that I used to adore and say that they have done more than enough to warrant that third film. With Shadow revealed in a post-credit scene, all eyes are currently on who's going to be voicing him, and I love this speculation that's going on right now, and it's going to be really interesting to see who it is when it's eventually revealed. All in all, despite some shaky entries in the video game department, I think Sonic is actually in a really great place right now. With two movies pretty much adored by most of the fans, he finds himself in a place that no video game adaptation has found itself in so far, and that people actively want more. Only time is going to tell if this third film builds from these two movies, but with how well the second movie expands itself, I like to think we're in safe hands. With the Knuckles spin-off show confirmed, it's clear that there's a definitive plan in sorts for this franchise, and I mean it when I say I think these movies are the beginning of something special. I really think that both of these films, flaws and all, are great. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you did like it, be sure to leave a like on the video, let me know doing something right with the content. You can also share this video on Twitter or with your friends. If you don't want to miss out on future videos when it eventually drops, you can hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell to be the first one to see it when it releases. A big thank you to Caleb for being in this video. I really appreciate it. He's one of my favourite creators. Links to all of his stuff will be in the description below. And yeah, with all that being said, my name is Jordan. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next one.